I'm here with my man, Gary.
What is going on,
Live.
YouTube world?
This is like they're getting a little sneak peek.
All right, cool. Let's get set up. All right, so as soon as you put those headphones on, I should come in loud and clear.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right,
perfect.
cool. And yeah, just set that up however you want to do it. You want to do it there.
Yeah.
And so, these are dynamic mics, so if you go like this, you're not going to be able to hear. If you're too far back, you're going to do that.
You know
right
what?
Yeah.
You know what I love is the setup.
Yeah, I love it too. I know what I enjoy doing the podcast in here.
Yeah.
As opposed to doing it like on Zoom.
Yeah.
Because Zoom, you've got distractions and noise, and wife is downstairs calling you.
The kids are at the door.
Exactly.
Hey, shut up. Well, you're definitely you're the Joe Rogan of real estate right now.
Well, I don't know about that, but I appreciate the comment. All right, so you ready to go live or what?
I'm good.
Yeah.
We're live with our people over here.
All right, beautiful. All right, guys, this is where we go officially live. We can. I can put that down
No. Just for if someone wanted to reach, get this particular podcast.
Yeah, so this will be sent out later on, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of just stockpile them.
Yeah.
So probably maybe, I don't know, 6 weeks from now.
6 weeks.
Yeah, I'll see if I can squeeze in a little earlier.
Yeah, no,
it's you.
Yeah. So 6 weeks, and how can they find it?
Well, they can find it on iTunes, so they can go to Real Talk with Gary or Spotify or iHeartRadio or
Yes, sir.
Just do a search, you'll find it. It's on about maybe like 8 or 10 different platforms.
Yeah. All right, let's do it.
All right, cool. Make sure that mic's kind of like right here. Yeah, so if you like chilling out like this, chill out like that.
It's not good.
It doesn't matter, however you want to sit, man. However you want to sit.
It's at the Breakfast Club. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so let's maybe...
All right, like this? You tell me.
Yeah,
I can hear myself.
Yeah, just like that. As long as you can hear yourself, you can hear me. Then we're good, brother.
All right. Now, can people dial in with questions?
I don't have that yet. I know. You know what I should do? I should get the Quiet Storm going.
Yeah,
Remember back in the day, the Quiet Storm, when they would call in like 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night?
You know
You're
what?
listening to the Quiet Storm.
Yeah. This is 321 89.
Alfonso, we are live. What's happening, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you in the flesh.
Hey, good to actually be in these in-person interviews again.
I love it.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it'll be my first one of the year. In person.
And you did it with me?
Hey,
That's good. That's good. What brings you into town, anyways?
Well, I had some meetings in the GTA.
Yeah.
We're serving N1s.
Okay, all right. And N1s for anybody who's listening
is the rental increase.
Know.
Yeah.
Rent increase.
So we have some properties all the way up to Belleville, all the way from Ottawa.
Yeah.
And so we were on a tour, N1 tour.
Okay.
Before we missed the deadline.
Are you doing it by yourself, or you?
No. That was my wife was doing that. So she dropped me off. I'm getting picked up here. I got meetings in GTA.
Okay.
And tonight we're doing a meetup. So.
Nice. A meetup for who?
So my students.
Okay.
Right. So we're getting together. I have some students in the area. So
nice.
We're doing a little restaurant thing.
Tell me about that, because I didn't know that you had. Explain that to me. Like, what part of the business is that? Because you got your hands into like so many different things, right? So
there's three parts to my business.
Yeah.
There's the acquisitions and investor relations.
Okay.
We also have a full-fledged professional property management company.
Okay.
And
then property management as well.
Yeah. And then
okay, that's gotta keep you busy. But you're not doing that.
No, I'm not in operations.
Okay.
Right? I'm not an operations guy.
Yeah. You know what? I used to be an operations guy back in the days when I was
really?
at TD Bank. I was in IT.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I understand about operations when you're right in the thick of it, right?
Yeah. It's never been my genius.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm very good at seeing the big picture.
Yeah.
I can create the biggest picture, but I'm not good in coloring in the lines,
You're the visionary.
I'm the visionary.
Right, leader. Okay,
yeah.
I like that. That's good though, right?
No, everybody has a genius, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
we got the property management, and then there's a mentorship component, right? So a lot of people, whether sometimes they end up just being investors, sometimes they're like, Alfonso, like, I want to do what you do, like, show us how you created this infrastructure, and then we can have that conversation.
When did you start the mentorship program?
I've always, I mean, I've been an educator for 15 years, right?
Right.
We were doing stages and, but I think I went full into it because of COVID,
Right.
COVID created time.
Yeah, it did.
Because, to mentor someone, it does require a lot of time. So it was just something that I would take on a few students a year.
Yeah.
I was on stages doing training and whatnot. And so, I would do it kind of like it does bring me fulfillment,
Yeah. I mean, look, COVID created opportunities if you're willing to look for them.
That's it.
If you're willing to look for them. And I get it. I know that, it also crushed a lot of businesses, but I also saw businesses adapt
Oh my God.
and innovate.
Yeah. I was watching the documentary about the virtual restaurant boom.
Right.
Before a restaurant, you would need brick and mortar. You know how it is, mom and pop.
Yeah.
You have a little restaurant and people come, they look at the menu, whatnot. Now a restaurant can host 20 restaurants, right? 20 different menus that are on Uber Eats, on Skip the Dishes, and you don't know that restaurant doesn't specialize in that particular menu they've created. But I was watching in New York City, there's one restaurant that had like about 45 different restaurants within one restaurant. Right. So
Wow.
So while the
And
restaurant
so
industry,
they just have cooks.
yeah,
and
you just cook in
chef-
there, yeah.
but there's no in-store dining.
No.
Yeah.
So someone essentially could have a restaurant from their house.
Right. Actually, you know what? There's somebody
That's
I just
incredible.
reached out to with Instagram there, and I just saw a picture come up with jerk chicken.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, how do I get some of this? And he's like, all right, here you go. Here's my number. You can come by, pick it up. So I'm probably going to go buy it later on today to go grab it.
Well, growing up in my neighborhood, there wasn't any like Salvadorian places. We want to get our pupusas. I don't know if you know about pupusas, but
No.
this is a typical traditional Salvadorian dish, which is it's like a tortilla with cheese and meat inside.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
All right.
If you ever eat pupusas,
Yeah.
you can really say that you've lived a full life.
Really?
Yeah.
Just by eating that.
If you once you
And-
eat,
yeah,
once
and-
you try
and
to
you
pupusa,
can call it a day.
yeah, that's it. Like you've lived. So there was always I remember in my neighborhood there was always that Salvadorian lady that made them in her house.
Right.
And everybody would just go and buy pupusas from this person's house.
Okay.
Essentially, that was the virtual restaurant, right? Because people just know they can call and make an order or whatnot. That's the future. Virtual restaurants, right? I mean, people don't have to have physical locations. Maybe the idea is to bring the restaurant to you, right?
Yeah.
Bring the server, bring the experience to you in your house, in your living room, and maybe that's the restaurant versus us going to a physical location to sit down, wait for the guy to make the food or whatnot. So
Yeah. Get the whole
It's just a shift.
the light all
Yeah.
set up, and you know what? And you hit a good point, right? It's all about shifting. It's all about adapting. I remember I was talking about this earlier this year as well too. When I took a look back at my newsletters, and I've been doing them since 2010, and every year there's a new change coming. Mortgage rule is never going to be the same. How are we going to find investment properties? Every single year. And what I've realized that it is just about adapting, adapting and pivoting and shifting. And if you can do that, those are how successful businesses always continue to keep moving forward, as opposed to complaining about the change. Just adapt.
yeah, every year, whether it be in the NBA or NHL, they change the rules. But professionals show up and play every single season. They just play within the new rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. A professional shows up, right? And whatever the new rules are, whatever the new conditions are. This is what I always tell people: the same wind blows on us all.
Yes.
Right. So it's not like
Road.
It's not like you have something special. Like you're not shielded from COVID. We all have this. It's the same wind.
Yeah.
We all have the same conditions.
How you set your sails. How you set your sails.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I truly believe in that, right? And look, and I do believe, I think that there is a little more of a heavier hand from the government. And some people are starting to push back a bit, and that's fine. And we'll find that boundary, and wherever that boundary sits, then the government be like, okay, cool, this is how it's. Because look, government will always try to take as much as they can until they can't, and then people push back, and then it's like, okay, well, here's the balance.
Well, one thing I was surprised, I had to Google it.
Yeah.
But at one point in the U.S., the personal tax rate was 80%.
Right.
I had to Google it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not possible.
I think I had heard that from a Jim Rohn talking, and then now what is it now? Is it down to 20? 30?
I think when it's all said and done, obviously it's very state specific.
Right, and income as well too.
Yeah. So we in Canada we have this like burden that we think that we're the highest taxed, but when you look at a state like California. I think their taxes, when you look at state tax and federal tax, I think they're higher. The tax rate is higher than where we're at right now.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing as well too. I remember hearing as well saying is that it's not that it's too expensive. It's that you can't afford
it. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not worried about taxes.
Right.
I love paying taxes. I love it.
You just gotta make more money.
Yeah, that's it. Make money, because you know what? You can worry about the taxes you pay, or you can worry about creating more wealth. And I always look at wealth as freedom, and that's like, for example, back home, we lived in poverty, right?
Right.
You don't know what poverty is until you are in poverty in a developing country, right?
And sorry, back home is.
So I was born in El Salvador, but my family, originally my family is from Nicaragua.
Okay.
Communist Nicaragua. So I lived in both. I went through 2 different wars.
Right.
And so when you live in a communist country and there's not even food, right? Like, even if you had all the money in the world, you wouldn't even be able to go get food at the grocery store. It's just, there wasn't any for the population. I lived through that, and what I understand is the opportunities that I was given here in Canada, and you gotta take those opportunities. I mean, Canada, we all have our issues. There's no perfect system.
Yeah.
But I think Canada is the closest to being a free system where everybody has the ability to earn and create wealth, right? The little guy to the person that already has wealth. In my country, if you come from poverty, the move of going from poor to middle class, that's the hardest thing that you're ever going to have to do. To go from poor to middle class. Think about that.
Is that difficult?
It's so difficult because number one, you got to know somebody. You got to pay your way.
So even in those countries, is your network is your net worth.
Exactly, and then it's all about money, status, right? Who's your family? What did your parents do? I mean, it's extremely difficult to go from nothing to middle class.
And what does that entail? Like, is that like trying to get a job? Like, what?
Well, the thing is, the only thing that you have in a developing nation is education, right? So that's the savior. This is why my mom, when I came to Canada, she was just like, Alfonso, the only thing that you can do is get a master's degree.
Right.
And if you really want to level up, you get a PhD. Like that was her mindset. It's like education, that's the only way to make it, right? And of course, when you go back home, if you have no education, you don't even get a chance, right?
Right.
And so that step of going from poverty to middle class, it's an extremely difficult step. But from middle class,
hold on a second here. I am so upset. You know what? That didn't even record.
Ooh,
we got it on
live. We got it on live.
All right, it's recording now. Good thing I looked down. Well, we got to start this all over again.
No, but we were so excited. We got so excited because
I thought I hit record.
We're in person,
Yeah.
And we're so excited to be, seeing each other in person that
Yeah,
you
and
forgot
that
to-
was such good material. Okay, anyways, you know what? It's recording now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anybody,
yeah.
you know what? Hopefully, we did get it on YouTube. So
We got it on the live. We got it on the live, and if I can see, I'm looking at there's some people watching already. So.
Yeah. All right. So now if you record, let's go back to El
Yeah.
Salvador because I think that's a good place to
Yeah.
start, and we can circle back to the other
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
as well
yeah.
too. So yeah. So growing up in El Salvador, you grew up poor, and that climb to that middle class is difficult.
Yeah, so in a developing nation, and I'm saying El Salvador, Central America, because that was my experience.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm just going to assume that is very similar for other developing nations.
Yeah.
Where you have extreme poverty. Now we weren't in extreme poverty, right?
Yeah.
But we were in poverty, especially when we moved to Nicaragua, where it was communist.
Right.
And a communist country, it's a very difficult country to live in, especially in the 80s, where a lot of the countries were getting funding from Russia.
Okay.
And and what was happening is Russia was no longer able to fund these communist countries anymore. As you remember, at some point in the 80s, there was a collapse of the USSR.
That was like right after I think they had pulled out from Afghanistan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there was a lot of so the USSR
Yeah.
was funding a lot of these or supporting a lot of these other communist regimes.
And this is, I guess, when they were really kind of pushing their ideology to some of these other countries, right?
So there was a point where they had to pull back,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, okay,
we got no more money left.
Yeah, exactly. And Nicaragua was a part of that, right? So they were providing arms, they were providing support, and then all of a sudden, no food, no
Right.
food on the shelves. You can have all the money in the world,
Yep.
and there's no food. But before we press record, we were talking about this step that if you're in because people talk about and if you're we did it here, right? Why can't you just you're in a developing nation, just think positive thoughts
Right.
and you should be able to get out of it. But when you live in poverty, your focus is on survival. Like you're focused on where am I going to get my next meal,
Right.
and how am I going to be able to provide for my family? And so that's the focus. Of course, it's going to be difficult to take steps to create any wealth.
Right.
And so this step of going from poverty to middle class in a developing nation is extremely hard. But once you're in middle class, to go from middle class to wealthy, it's really easy.
So, and again, that step to middle class now is about knowing somebody in that middle class that can pull you up, get you a job, right? So you can put some money.
And this is the mindset. Like in my country, when someone has something, he must have done something. Right?
Done something illegal.
Yeah, or you corrupt, right? It's a
Right.
corrupt. There's so much corruption that when someone has a nice car, a nice house, the general consensus is that person must have done something corrupt to get to where they are.
Is the government just as equally as not as equally as corrupt, but are there
Yes,
corrupt?
absolutely.
Okay, so the government.
Well, there's no stability, right?
Yeah.
When you have no stability and no accountability, right, and we don't know how long your regime is going to last. You're going to take as much as you can, right? And
line your own pocket.
For sure. I mean,
Right.
that's the opportunity of being president versus someone like in a stable country like Canada, of course there's corruptions. I'm not saying there's no corruption, but it's not at the level as it is in developing nations.
Right. And we understand the corruption here and the loopholes and what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because people are ultimately they're going to hold you accountable.
Right.
Right.
Now, when did you leave El Salvador? So you got to the middle class.
Yeah. No, I was never in the
Oh, you
middle
never
class.
made it up there.
No, never
Oh.
made it. I'm just saying it's difficult.
Got it. Okay, I thought you made it there. So
No,
you didn't.
no,
So
no,
okay.
no,
So
no.
then your mom, your
Yeah,
family.
so I guess what I was trying to illustrate is that in this country,
Yeah.
to go from poor to middle class is the easiest thing that you can do,
Mhm.
right? It's like, and that's it's a double-edged sword in a way, because this country will make sure you're comfortable to the point where you're not even going to do anything more, or you're not going to risk, getting outside of your bubble. And so in this country, in this in the I would say in the in the Western world,
Yeah.
going from middle class to wealthy, that is the hardest thing that you're gonna have to do, right? Because for you to do that, it requires you to get out of your comfort zone, right? Versus in going from poor to middle class, here it's easy, right? You two income household, 2 cars, garage, credit card debt. You're gonna have the plasma. You're gonna have all the goodies, and you're that's it for the next 40 years of your life. I mean, that from going from poverty to go to a middle class situation, it's not difficult in this society.
Right.
But to go from that to wealthy, it's extremely hard, because you have to get out of your comfort zone.
And that's where there's a shift of the mindset as well too.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Well, the thing is, when you come to this country, you know what extreme poverty looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to this country, you're like, I gotta make it, right? It's like the American dream, the Canadian dream. It's like we're gonna push until we make it.
Did you find that there was a lot of opportunities when you got here? Where you're like, I can't believe how many doors there are that I can go into. Do you see it like that, where maybe now Canadians that were born here don't see as many doors?
Well, they're comfortable.
Yeah, right.
Like the it's a double-edged sword, because it's good that the society has we've built a society where everybody can have the opportunity and have the time to complain about a mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's gonna be someone's full purpose. We're back home. It's like, no, we gotta survive. You know what I mean? No one's complaining about some of these things, which is nothing wrong with it, because that's what society wants. It's like society has created a situation where everybody has their basic needs met. Right. And so, because we're human, we need to fight for things. We need to feel like like we have a life that's fulfilled.
Right.
We're now like we start thinking about other things that we can complain about.
Yeah. Have you gone back home?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Have
It's
things
very
changed?
different. Things. I mean, specifically in El Salvador.
Yeah.
It became there was a lot of, after the wars came the crime.
Right.
And that's unfortunate, because beautiful country, and then plagued by narcos and
so we're talking
crime.
about organized crime.
Yeah, organized crime, like gangs, things like that, cartels. So that's unfortunate, but I mean, you can go to beautiful places. There's like tourist areas, but there's a stigma when it comes to El Salvador.
Now, I'm not familiar with the location of the countries in that area. Where's Colombia compared to where El Salvador is?
So El Salvador is Central America.
Yeah.
Colombia is South America. So
okay.
You're way down.
Way down.
Way
okay.
down.
Now, was there any? Because I mean, back then, who was it now? What was that one show, Narcos? There.
Yeah.
The guy from Colombia.
Pablo Escobar.
Pablo Escobar. Did that have any kind of like? What was the sense down there in Central America with him doing what he was doing? Was that a big thing on?
Yeah. So before before I think he had a route, he can go directly to the U.S. I think now a lot of the ships and everything stop in Central America and then just go by land all the way.
Okay.
All the way to the U.S. and North America, really. At the end of the day, that was the war on drugs actually created the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that was back in
80s.
Reagan times, I believe, right?
Yeah, 80s, early 90s.
Right.
I mean, like he had a product. He was a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's like an Elon Musk. At the end of the day, there was, I think when that show came out, I don't know if you remember that show, Narcos.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great show.
Yeah,
It
great
was
show.
really good.
You know, he was. You see that he was a visionary.
Mm.
I mean, of course, he's using a product that is illegal or whatever, but
Right.
he was making $60 million a day at one point.
I know he was like burying his money.
Yeah,
He didn't even
yeah.
know where to put the money.
Yeah, exactly. It was too much. There's still money. People still are finding money.
Right.
They're doing construction or whatever. They find piles of money that it's like deteriorated or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. So let's kind of dive back into some of the business that you have. So I know you said that because we had missed some of that when I didn't realize that we weren't recording. So you've got property management company.
Yeah. So the I guess it's the Quadra group of companies,
Yeah.
and we're pretty much separated into like 3 different divisions. We have the acquisitions and investor relations. We're doing large deals, apartment building deals all across Canada. We have the property management, and essentially the property management company was created to support the growth in the acquisition side.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So we needed an infrastructure, and then we just started taking on clients, and they liked they liked how we managed our properties, because again, we're not trying to get rich of property management. It's just an asset that we have to support what we're doing.
Right. How big of how large is that organization there, that side of the business?
I think I don't have specific numbers,
Okay.
but like hundreds of doors at least.
Right.
I don't have, like, my wife pretty much just focuses on that specifically.
Yeah.
And then the third division is the mentorship education
Okay.
part of things. So
How's that going? And is that your favorite part of the business?
well, this is
Would you say?
like I love to fight for people's financial freedom.
I love that as
I'm
well.
I'm a freedom fighter.
Right.
And it happened to me when I was 30 years old.
Mm.
So my 20s, I was grinding, right? I always remember the Ricky Rouse,
Yeah.
every day I'm hustling. That was my life,
Right.
Even still, when I hear that track, it's like I feel like, yes, this is my life.
Does music get you in the mood to hustle
every
hard?
day, right? You have. I mean, there's certain songs that it's just like, like the Rocky theme song. The Rocky. Like.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. And he's climbing up those stairs, 100%.
You feel like you want to do a sit up. Yeah.
And you know what? And I'm glad that you say that as well too. Because look, when I'm in my car, I use my car as a library. Like I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to Jim Rohn, motivational things that really kind of get me excited. But there's only so much of that you can listen to, where it's not sinking in anymore. You're not really getting it.
Yeah.
Then you have to get to action, and then I start listening to my music that I love, like the hip hop and the reggae, and then that just kind of gets me motivated. If I'm on my way to a home inspection, if I'm on my way to look at another investment property with a client, so it does. You need I guess motivation and inspiration.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of like these, like I love hip hop, and I'm a hip hop head.
Yeah.
I grew up in hip hop.
Yeah.
And like. It's so inspirational because, like, it was the only music that I could identify with, as being an immigrant coming, being fresh, off the boat in a sense, in Canada, because it's like there was no one that looked like me, that when you looked at media, no one looked like me that had anything, like that had done anything.
Right.
And when I came here when I was 9 years old. All I knew about music back home was Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yeah, we could sing all the lyrics, couldn't even speak English.
Okay.
So the Michael Jackson was my first inspiration.
That's incredible. So you couldn't speak English, but you knew all the lyrics.
Oh, Michael Jackson! That was like
he was
back
really
home,
worldwide.
Yeah. That was music. Like that was the only music that I knew was Michael Jackson.
What about Bob Marley?
No Bob Marley. No Bob Marley.
Really?
Not back home. Not back home.
Okay,
Right. So
interesting.
just Michael Jackson was, and think about it. You're a kid, right? So
Yeah.
you're only influenced by what you hear on the radio, right?
Mhm.
So back home it was like Michael Jackson. That was like the very top.
Yeah.
And so when I came to Canada, I lived in Vancouver, on Broadway in Fraser, okay,
Yeah.
near Burnaby, and on Broadway, I remember like your parents used to let you leave the house
Yeah.
on your own,
Yeah.
when you're 9 years old.
Yeah.
I remember I was walking, and in front of a building there was a group of kids that had a cardboard box taped to the ground, and they were breakdancing. I was so fascinated by that, like,
Yeah.
and it was my very first, and all the kids that were there were like me,
Okay.
immigrants, people from Latin America, black kids, I was like, whoa, this is so cool,
Yeah.
And my first cassette, and I begged my mom like for weeks,
Yeah.
was the Fat Boys.
Okay.
And the only reason I love the Fat Boys is because it was a Latino guy.
Yeah.
It was Puerto Rican. One of the guys was Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was so fascinated because it was like someone that looked like me on the cover of this cassette.
Yeah.
And so that's why I fell in love with hip hop. And it just became. My first business was a hip hop clothing store.
Yeah.
But my 20s was really focused on every day I'm hustling. That was if you could have a theme song for every decade of your life, I'll ask you what it was, but mine was every day I'm hustling. There was no vacations. There was no days off.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we're putting in the work. This is what we're doing, and if I would take a vacation, be a week vacation, Dominican Republic or whatever, some place in resort, 4 square meals a day. And what we would do is we would come back and hustle again to go back.
Right.
So now I'm 30 years old, and I realized, this is like shortly after I had sold my other company, and I had all the real estate at this time, and I realized like, I don't really have to work anymore.
Right.
Like that was a realization.
What, early 30s.
I was 30 years old. About 30 years old.
Right.
And so I said, I'm going to go on a 2-week vacation.
Yeah.
That's what I said. That was my first thing because, when we're in the thick of things, we have this vision of what retirement would look like, And I had this like vision in my head, like, okay, I'm going to sit on a beach for the rest of my life. Because whenever you work hard, you go to the beach. And then you're like, okay, so the point would be to do this full time.
Right.
Not for a week. Right?
Yeah.
And so I booked that 2-week vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sitting there on the second week, on the Monday of the second week, and I was like, this sucks. This is horrible.
Is that when you realize that the essence of life is having purpose?
I found
I
purpose.
enjoy vacations as well.
And that's how I got to that point. Was my purpose brought me to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But what we think we're gonna like, everybody has this vision of themselves of what they would do if they had all of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized on that Monday of that second week was that what I thought was just laying around the beach. That's not what I wanted at all. Yeah. I was getting ready to gnaw off my own arm. I was so bored.
Yeah. Listen, and I know exactly where you're coming from because I don't know if you on social media, like I take the summers off.
Yeah.
And but I do fill it up with activities, hanging out with friends, going up to the cottage, going out in the boat, hitting the sandbar, just having a blast.
Yeah.
The last day I was at the cottage, I think, was at the end of August. I haven't even gone back. I don't even want to see it. I'm done. I'm back.
Don't show me a cottage right now.
I'm back into my purpose. I'm back into doing the podcast, to doing the webinars, to educating myself, to helping to educate other people. Like, you cannot do that for a whole year. People think that, I can't wait till I'm 65, then I can just retire. It's not that easy, man. If you're not filling it with enjoyment or some type of purpose.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like a slap in the face. It was like, oh shoot. It's almost like, what did I do?
Right. So then, how do you find that balance? I mean,
So
obviously
I'm
you
sitting
still,
so I'm sitting on the beach and I'm
yeah,
like, this is not it for me.
right.
You know, I'm 30 years old. Like, I have a lot of life to live. What the hell am I gonna do with my life? And it came down to me wanting fulfillment. So then I thought about what can I offer the world, right? And I thought about many different things. My mind is always on helping the situation back home, you know, in Central America specifically. And I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I can be the guy that brings money. I can bring money back home.
Right.
And then later on that day, I started thinking, well, wait a minute. If I bring them money like March 1st, April 1st, they're going to need it again. So that's not really sustainable. I said,
right.
well, what about I'm the guy that brings the food? I can bring the food, but no, that doesn't work because they're going to be hungry again, right? Maybe I can bring clothes. I can, you know, I had all these ideas of what I was going to do to find that fulfillment and help as many people as possible. But then I started realizing, like, what do I, like, first of all, how am I so blessed to have this time to be able to even have this idea of helping people? It's because I've expanded my mindset and I created a situation for myself where I could be in a position to help others. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to help people expand their mindsets so they can be financially free and so they can all realize and sit on a beach one day and say, whoa, this is not what I really wanted. What am I going to do? And so this is when I had this idea of becoming a freedom fighter, and I was going to teach everybody exactly what I had done for myself.
So you're educating them.
Yeah, and so it's about, I'm 44 now, and that was about 14 years ago, and I said I'm going to dedicate my life to teaching others how to get to be financially free, so they can now turn around and find other ways of how they're going to bring value to the society.
Right.
Because, you know, there is value in the 40-40 plan, right? So I'm not knocking the 40-40 plan. The 40-40 plan is needed. You know, people need to work, and you do bring value.
And what is a 40-40 plan for people
40,
who don't know?
40 hours, 40 years of your life.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And we're not knocking that, right? But there is people that want more.
Yeah.
And there is more if you want more.
You know what? It's interesting when glad you brought it up as well too, because I remember there was a time when I finally got out of that 40-40 lifestyle, and then I started knocking it. I started knocking it because like I got to get other people out. I got to get other people out. And I remember I had a friend and he came over and we're in the backyard and we're having a couple of drinks and we're talking and like, hey, I need to get into real estate investing, and then I'll get all excited and what he's gonna do, and he's like, Gary, not everybody wants to do what you do.
Exactly.
And it really kind of hit me. I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, this is how you can get to finance. But then you realize that, no, hold on a second. Instead of trying to convince people to come over to your side, just be a beacon.
Yeah, that's it.
This is what I do, and if you want to learn, if you want to kind of enjoy, go down this journey, great. If not, because you're right, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people need that security. Some people love their job, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Listen, if you love what you do, then that means you have a career. And if you have a career, you have life fulfillment. And that's the objective, is to live a life that is fulfilled. And you are going to be helping people, you know, in whatever it is that you're doing in life. You know, like when I meet a waiter or a waitress that is happy, that is joyful and sees life from a really positive perspective, I'm like, that person is fulfilled, you know? Now, if that person, that individual person wants more, the options in this country are here for people to have that, you know? And so for me, you're on my YouTube channel here as well as I'm on your podcast. But the people that are following me, this is like a choice. You don't have to subscribe to my channel. You know what I mean? And I may not even be the person that you resonate with, because when I was in high school, you know, I remember sitting in high school, and you would have these people, you know, you can do it, and you know, I never, like, these people were so foreign to me, you know. And so when I wanted to make a move into personal development and be a teacher, a mentor to people, I wanted to do it like how I would want to receive the information.
Yeah.
So that might not resonate with a lot of people. You know, me say Alfonso, he's loud, he's obnoxious, or he laughs kind of funny, or you know what I mean, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be me. It could be, you know, some people like the Jim Rohns or the Anthony Robbins or whatever it is that you want to do.
Right.
And so I do things. I never. This is one thing that I learned a long time ago. Is be yourself.
Yeah.
Right. If you're yourself, you're gonna attract people that are like you, and the message is gonna get further versus just you're trying to put on an act. You know.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we did a webinar last night, and you know, when we move everybody over into the members only forum, I stick around for a bit, have a little chat with them, and they're like, "Well, what should be the first step?" And I said, "Well, the first step is doing what you're doing right now, but then also you can go check out some other clubs." And you know, people want to say, "Well, hold on a second. You're talking to somebody here. Why don't you just sell them on Smart Home Choice?" Because they may not resonate with me.
Yeah.
Maybe they will, but maybe the right club.
Yeah.
Maybe Rockstar Real Estate. Maybe Rain. And that's cool. I'm 100% open to that, because for me to think that I'm going to just tie them to Smart Home Choice and they're going to resonate with me and they have to, it's so wrong.
Yeah.
If they do, fantastic. And if they don't, it's all good, because I really do
Yeah.
wish everybody the best. Like, I want to see people succeed.
Well, when we talked about the educational component, you're like, oh, I didn't know that, right? Because I never talk about it.
Right.
You know, when people are like, you're on this, you know, I'm on multiple people's podcasts, and before the podcast, they're like, okay, so what are we promoting? Nothing.
You're
I'm
promoting you.
I'm just myself, right? And if so, you know, what happens is if I resonate with someone, they'll reach out. You know what I mean? And I'm not worried about that. You know what I mean?
It's such a good way to actually show people. Just talk about yourself, your experiences, and when people, if they resonate with you, like
reach out.
Like even for me, sometimes people don't even know I'm a real estate agent. Because they don't have the typical another house, so I might do it once a year, you know. But other than that, like you know,
well, you don't have to, because you're bringing value, and that's why people are gonna want to do business with you.
Right.
I'll get on a Zoom call with someone, and honestly, people say these words, Alfonso, I don't know what you're selling, but I'm in. I could be an agent. They have no clue. They just like, you know what? I saw you on this podcast, that podcast, and
I just want to be around you. I just want to learn from you.
And that's the I think for me is the most fulfilling part of what I do, is that I don't have to shove it down people's throats. You know? I don't have to. Hey, you know, you're 40-40, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. No, do what you're doing. And if you like what I do, you can have a little bit of it. You can be on the 20/20 plan. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what though, you do. You got a great personality. You're fun to be around. And after you'd done that webinar with us last week, you know, 50 years of Monopoly money, our coach joined that call. So myself and Chris and Quentin, we have a coach that we meet with every 2 weeks. And I go, hey, so what did you think of Alfonso? And he goes, you know what, Gary? That guy's a street fighter. I go, you think so? He goes, because I think he understands history a little bit better than we do. But he's like, he took what he needed to take, and he kept telling everybody, I'm not an economist, just let everybody know, but this is what I've seen in the past, and this is what I think is happening, and where I need to be, and where people should be kind of going as well. And that's it.
Yeah. Like, I don't claim to be like the know-it-all, right?
Yeah.
The information that I have has served me.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can see my results, you know, and if you like what you see, then listen to me or don't.
Right. And that's the thing too. Like, you know, I know bits and.
But that was a fun. That was a fun.
I loved it. It was great. Like, I know bits and pieces of history as well too, and I've gone back and tried to learn more about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I think I got a good understanding from a financial standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, I can go back and I can study even more, but it served me well.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why we can have that conversation that we had last week, right? Because we can kind of play off of what you were saying and what I was saying, but we kind of had a little.
Well, this is why it's so easy for you to start a podcast and not press record, because we just get into like a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, and it's that we forget, and I think that conversation is a conversation we had a few times, and you're like, you know what, let's just do it on podcast.
Yeah, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people loved it as well too.
Yeah.
And I also sent like after you dropped off some of the members some videos and links that they can go, like Mike Maloney, I think his name is.
Yes.
He's phenomenal, and because I just want people to go and learn about what's happened in the past. I think it's so.
If you want to be wealthy, you need to study the history of money.
Yes.
You need to study power, right? You don't have to be power hungry, but you need to know why people would want power and what that does, like how someone with power can manipulate certain situations. You know, you don't have to be a power hungry person, but you need to know that it exists, and you need to know why people make certain moves. Right in the world. So power and money are going to go hand in hand. You're going to see there's going to be multiple links. Right. Now you just need to educate yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to be money hungry or power hungry to understand why people, the psychology behind why people are doing things, and then put yourself in a situation where you're not a victim of it. You can actually thrive understanding what other people are doing.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually starting to watch the documentaries right now. I think it's called How to Be a Tyrant. And it talks about Stalin back in the days, and
I haven't seen that.
Saddam Hussein, and
it's
really interesting, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a tyrant, but I
No,
do.
you need
but
to
I
understand.
do
Like,
find it interesting.
Look, you know what? Watch this documentary on Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I definitely don't want to be Hitler, and I do not agree with anything that he had to say, but it's interesting how he was able to move a nation to the point where he almost dominated the entire world. Right? Like if there's a movie out there, and I only watched a few episodes. A show out there. I only watched a few episodes on Prime. It's called the something Castle.
Okay.
And the show is about what happened if Hitler would have achieved his plan.
He was close.
Yeah, you know, and so what would the U.S. look like? And so you see, like, you have Japanese territories, you have like German territories, and you know, it's just interesting to me. You know, interesting to me how someone one person could almost take over the entire world. Right, that's interesting to me. It doesn't mean you need to agree with it. You know?
Right. While we're on this, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but do you think, because you know, there's a lot of controversy right now in the world with what's happening and the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any correlation in regards to what's happened in the past and where things are? Do you see any concerns, or is that something that you just don't pay attention to too much?
Well, this is what I know.
Yeah.
If you push, you get this, right? Like, let's do this here.
Yeah.
Okay. So push.
Yeah.
That's what. So I've never been that person, right? I always I look at my life and I see all the things that are in front of me, and I always travel the path of least resistance.
Be like water.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, my opinion really doesn't matter. I want to make a difference, right? And the only way I can make a difference is I need to, first of all, I'm not going to be ignorant on what's happening, right? But I'm also not going to put too much focus on it because it doesn't serve what I'm trying to accomplish with my company, with my legacy, and so I'm going to go down that road. For example, back in March 2020, the lights went off. Right? And we could have all sat there and, you know, just like, oh, what are we going to do? I instead went into like full on action mode. Like the activity that happened between April 1st and I would say September, where people were that time was people were the most uncertain. I think now people have kind of gotten used to what this new life is going to look like.
Right.
But back then, people didn't know. right? There was no, but that's when we were the most active.
Yeah.
And as a result, and I'm talking in terms of real estate. And so as a result, everything we did has doubled, right?
Yeah.
We've made millions during that time. While other people were just like threw their hands up, we went through expansion, right? And this is how I operate my life. I take action and I push forward, right? And I know that a lot of people, they tend to focus on these things,
The negative.
and it's okay to understand. You should understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But if you spend too much time there, how are you improving your situation?
Exactly.
Right.
Because it is a heavy weight to continue to keep watching those videos, to getting involved in it, and you're not doing anything.
It's a
in
black
that space
hole.
Anyway.
It's a black hole.
Right. So, I see what's happening as well too. I'm not ignorant. I think that's a good choice of words. Is don't be ignorant to it.
Yes. Yes.
But focus on. This is where you get into the reactive, and what's the other word I'm looking for now? So one is reactive and proactive.
Yeah.
And reactive is when you use more emotions.
Yeah.
And where you see people putting posts on, they're taking our freedoms away, or they're doing that, and I get all that, I see it. It's not like I don't see it, I'm sure you see it as well too.
Absolutely.
And the other side is you can be proactive
Yeah.
and say, okay, well, I can't do anything about it, or I'm not gonna focus too much energy on that. What can I do within my own sphere?
Yeah.
What can I do to better myself,
Yeah.
or better my community, or do things that are positive? And I think that's what people need to focus on as well too. And listen, and I think there still is a place for freedom fighters.
Yeah,
I
for
love
sure.
those freedom fighters. Go down there and
I'm a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
I'm a financial freedom fighter.
There you go. There you go.
No, but the thing is, it's like, okay, so at the end of the day,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's better to take action and show the way,
Yeah.
right? I'd rather be the person that shows the way than the one that was talking about the way or hashtagging the way, right? I want to show the way. I want to make a difference in this world. We started talking about the differences between developing nations and developed nations, and kind of that step to from poverty to middle class.
Yeah.
Well, the only way anyone is going to change their situation is to have a seat at the table, and the path of least resistance to actually being in a position where you can make a difference is through wealth. Get in a position where your opinion actually means something, right? Versus, taxing the rich or whatever, like, why not become, instead of fight against the wealthy, why not become one of them? So now when you're in that situation, you can now make better decisions to help more people.
Right. And when you're younger as well too, I remember watching Robin Hood. And to me, Robin Hood was good. Steal from the rich and give to the poor. But then as you get older, you realize, well, hold on a second, theft is theft.
Yeah.
I understand what he was doing, but it's still theft.
Yeah.
And so then, I think it goes along with what you're saying, that, why don't you just learn to become wealthy? And wealth can come in different ways as well, too.
Yeah, for sure.
There's financial wealth, there's mindset wealth, there's, you can have wealth in having a health.
Yeah.
Health is, wealth as well too, right? And I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. What's your morning routine like? Because somebody's listening to you and they're like, man, okay, fine. So what should I do on a day-to-day basis just to kind of get things?
And people want to hear the 5 a.m. club, or what is it? The 5 a.m. club?
4 a.m., 5 a.m. I'm still snoring.
Yeah,
I tried it once or twice.
I can't subscribe to that club. You know what I mean?
It just didn't work for you.
Yeah, I think sleep is important.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time falling asleep at like 10 to wake up at 5. Right. At 10, my mind is still building Mars.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so sleep is important, and sometimes I have a hard time getting to sleep. But I wake up and I love the morning time. You know, I love that time. So I think I wake up around 7. Right? There's
Yeah.
no specific thing here.
Right.
Here's the key
Alarm
to freedom.
clock?
No alarm clock.
Okay.
I don't have an alarm clock.
Yeah.
Even though I sleep with someone that wakes me up.
Yeah. You'd almost call that time freedom.
Yeah,
That's time freedom.
that's time freedom.
Financial freedom, time
yeah,
freedom.
that's it. You know,
Yeah.
I open up my eyes and that's when I'm up. You know.
Okay.
Um, but you know, I like that time, and I do my best thinking in the morning. Yeah, you just like you know, I grab a coffee and I like to think, meditate, and I take my time. Sometimes I don't meditate. Don't make it a chore. You know, I think sometimes people are like, oh, 5 a.m. club. So you need to, you know, you need to read a book, 5 pages, and you gotta, you know, meditate now. You know, like it's really like, yeah. Sometimes I read, sometimes you know, sometimes I meditate. I try to do things as I feel it's necessary, and the most important thing, and I would say this would be the one thing that I do that's very specific.
Yeah.
I do not turn on my phone until I'm walking out the door.
That's good.
Right? So my phone is not in my room where I sleep. It's in the living room. It's on a charging station. My watch as well. So everything is there. I do not turn it on until I'm walking out the door.
You know what? I'm gonna try that. I've heard it so many times, and I've implemented so many things that I've heard from doing these podcasts and webinars and seminars, but I haven't been able to do that yet. I still have it at my night table.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot better though, with looking at emails. Like at emails, I won't even touch
I don't have
until
I don't have email on my
9:30.
I don't have email on my phone.
Oh, you don't?
No. So the only time I can check email is I'm sitting when I sit at my desk in my office.
And you know what? It can be done. I remember, you know, if you'd have told me that
Nothing falls
7,
apart.
8 years ago, I would have said there's no way you could possibly do that.
Yeah.
But there are many times that I'm on the road where I don't look at my emails until I get back, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And so it can be done. Because look, if the world's burning down, somebody will call you.
Yeah.
And if you don't look at your phone and it keeps vibrating 10 times, you might like, okay, what is going on? And then you'll check. So it can be done.
I also have a distraction device.
What's that?
So it's like on my phone.
Yeah.
It's very focused, right? So I do have Instagram, I do have Facebook, but I don't have the LinkedIn, the Twitter, the Snapchat,
All the other stuff.
all the other stuff. I limit, you know, because I can't help myself, you know. And so on my iPad is when I have all the other stuff, you know, and I call it my distraction device. My iPad's got email, it's got Snapchat, it's got the TikTok, it's got a whole bunch of things that I think it's important to take time and not think about work and just call it, you know, consuming garbage. You know, it's like so it's okay to have a donut once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I call it a distraction device.
Yeah, and I mean the thing as well too with emails, it's usually full of things that other people want you to do.
Yeah,
it's their tasks or their things that they need you to fulfill for them. A lot of times, sometimes you know, obviously there's things that you've asked for as well, but you know,
I have separate emails for different things that I do.
Okay.
Right, and some of those
How
emails.
many different ones do you have? Like you
I
have
have
one
about,
for the mentorship, one for prop.
Well, it's not even specific. It's like the level of people. Like how much do I want to be distracted? So I have emails that will reroute you to somebody else, and they can deal with it. Right.
Yeah. So
you have to guard your time. As human beings, we want to fill our time with everything, and this is an important thing that I learned during COVID. Because you know I was on the road, you know, like I was on a plane twice a week, living my dream, which is inspiring people and changing lives. All over North America, twice a week I'm on a plane. I'm going somewhere to step on a stage somewhere. When I'm home, right? So I would be home maybe 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 days a week.
Mm.
I needed to cram everything into those 3 days, family time. And so when we're at home, it's like I'm not gonna waste a day at home. Let's go to the restaurant. Like let's go to Disney World. Let's go. Like I'm always we like what I say was you're always wanting to overcompensate with your kids because you feel guilty in a way that you were working, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when COVID came, we just now have all this time on our hands. And then I realized a few months ago when I'm watching, and I have no shame. We were watching Gilmore Girls, and with my daughter, with my youngest daughter, she's 15.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I have two girls.
Yeah, 15 and
26.
And 26. Yeah.
That's another story. But you know, I'm watching with my 15-year-old. We sat around all Sunday, in our sweatpants, right? No phone call. Nobody can have. Nobody. My phone was off, watching Gilmore Girls.
Nice.
Now, to somebody, and if you talked to me in 2019, I was like, why would I spend a whole day watching Gilmore Girls? You know. And my daughter, at the end of the day, she's like, Dad, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, because we just think that we need to overcompensate with entertainment, but sometimes, you know, doing nothing, it's okay.
And just laughing.
Just laughing.
Is it a comedy as well too? I don't know.
It's like a. Anyways, who's ever watching this would probably laugh at me that I'm watching Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, but you know what?
You know,
but it's not even just the show itself.
Yeah.
It's the time that you're spending with your daughter. I think is really the takeaway. How has she dealt with what's happening and also too, like I guess even for yourself, seeing maybe what your kids have been going through, because it hasn't been easy. I mean, I know for myself, and you know, maybe we might get a little deep here, but my kids have had some difficulty.
How old are your kids?
With it. So my daughter's 19, my son's 24. And so I know for you and for me, we can handle it different because we're older, and we've trained ourselves, we've taught ourselves, and have learned from some of the best in the industry on how to adapt to some of these things. I mean, I've had some difficulty with it at times. I've had some, I think, you know, bouts of some depression as well too, and I'm open to say that. Yeah. But you know, and I think it's okay to go through those emotions and say, okay, cool, long enough, now let's go.
Yeah. So my 15-year-old during COVID, like before COVID, before March, she was already talking about this idea of doing school from home.
Okay.
She was in grade 8, and she was going into, you know, that in 2020, September of 2020, was her first year of high school. It's just like, you know, she's thinking about doing school from home, mostly because she felt like at school she couldn't focus. You know, she couldn't focus, and a lot of distractions. You know, I think my ego said, well, she's gonna miss out on all the social aspects of school. Right. And because I was looking at her through my experience. So
because you're a social person.
Yeah, and I had like school was awesome. You know what I mean? Like I love school. I used to, but when I look at it, I didn't learn anything. I was just there to hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, and we didn't have like gadgets for people to stay connected or whatnot. So there was no social media. I mean, all the things that people can, all the different ways that people can stay connected, didn't really exist when I was going to through high school. And so when COVID hit, you know, she like this is what like I think she went to school, and then she got sent home, and then it was just like
back and forth like a yo-yo.
It was crazy, you know. So I was like, okay, like let's do this, and you know what? She loves it. Like she's more productive.
She loves the virtual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she loves the virtual. She's more productive, and she's decided to do her entire high school virtually. That's it. That's all. You know, from home.
Okay.
And so the neat thing about some of these young people and their experience is that technology technology solves a lot of the issues we would have had, back in 20 years ago, because now you can connect, instead of raising your hand or waiting for the answer, she can Google it and find the answer right away, right? She can still be social with her friends. They're all online, right? And they can do Zoom calls or whatnot. So I think the obviously the future will change and shift because of this time, but we shouldn't be afraid of it.
I agree.
It's evolution.
I agree.
What's happening now is just it was going to happen inevitably. It was going to be it's inevitable that we would have had this transition into technology, right? And so we shouldn't be afraid of it. We shouldn't be afraid of change. If something can be done better, like I'm thinking about it, like how many times I had to go into the lawyer's office to sign papers.
Yeah.
Right? And it was just like, even last year, 2019, people were like, like my lawyer was like, no, you have to come in. So I would make sure I'm around. But now everything is online. Everybody's kind of embraced it, like the DocuSign life, And if you don't have DocuSign, you're probably not going to do deals, right? And so, then when you think about it, yeah, we should have made this move earlier.
And I think there's a yin and yang to everything, right?
For sure.
Like you can't have good without bad. You can't have light without dark. You can't have a win without a loss. And people try to fight it all the time, and it's just like you said before, just be water.
That's it.
Right? The least resistance.
Yeah.
Don't be ignorant. Understand what's happening, but just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and that's been that was kind of like the way. It's like I thought I was resisting when my daughter was like, yeah, I want to go to do school online. It was my ego. Right. It was my ego that got in the way and was saying, no, you need this social aspect, because I had it and look at me.
Now, now I know that you've done well throughout the pandemic. Did you ever go through any depression at all?
I think you know what I'm going to be honest. There was times I was scared, right? March 20th. So April 1st was Judgment Day.
Yes. It was.
Yeah.
Everybody was holding their breath. That were landlords.
Yeah. What was going to happen? Yeah. Right. What was going to happen? And so, the way I combat that. So I thought about what was it? What would I do? Right.
Yeah.
What would I do if nobody paid their rent? You know what I mean? Hundreds of tenants across Canada. What if nobody paid their rent? I mean, I'm responsible to investors, employees, even like family members have invested in my deals. I mean, there's a lot of huge responsibility, and I cannot put my head in the sand, right? So the way I was fighting against being scared is communication, consistent communication. Emails, investors, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. Tenants, this is what's going on, this is where you get help, this is where you get help, this is where you get help. On calls with tenants, there was I remember there was a call that we had with one tenant. He's like, I was on hold with EI for 8 hours. And we're like, okay, and then what? Well, I had to hang up. I'm like, are you doing anything better right now? Your job is to be on EI until, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So call them back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like you had to manage the situation versus just like retreat, right? And like and I think that was the reason, like when April 1st came, we were on such high alert. We collected better than we ever did before.
Yeah.
But I think April 1st we're like 98% collected.
Really?
Right? Versus like, there's always people that kind of are late or whatnot.
But you tackled the problem, the potential problem head on.
Yeah.
You tackle it before it became a problem.
Exactly. But I was scared.
And that was proactive as opposed to reactive.
Exactly. And I can say yes, I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I had a lot of nights that I couldn't fall asleep.
Yeah.
You know, and mostly is because there's a lot of people that are counting on me, right?
Yeah.
Because if it was just me, I would say we'll see what happens.
Right.
You know, it's something, but like there's so many people that are counting on me, employees. Like for me, I was worried, and I keep thinking of people, and I'm a people person, right? I think of people first.
Mhm.
I believe in people first, and all I keep thinking is people's families
Right.
and how, you know, like our employees, they could have worked somewhere else, probably for more pay, but they took a chance and they joined our team. I think about that, right? I think about that every day. You know, I want to make sure that chance that they took on our organization was not in, didn't go was not in vain, right? It was not a mistake, you know, where they could have worked at a maybe a bigger firm where more job security or whatnot. You know, investors that took a chance with us, you know, because they believed in what we were saying and the vision that we had. So there's a lot of responsibility, and I did not want to put my head in the sand.
Mhm.
And what ended up happening was we ended up coming out of that situation where, unfortunately, colleagues that I know personally had horrible issues. You know, with you know managing that situation. You know, there's like people got together in that whole building and said we're not paying rent. You know,
Mhm.
and not realizing that okay maybe that you're hurting that particular person or the landlord, but you're also hurting investors, families,
Mhm.
you know, all this stuff. So I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared and worried, and you know what, I don't I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Yeah. You know what? And so was I. So was
Yeah.
I as well too. And you know, you have to take a step back sometimes. Say, okay, so what do we do? And I remember for us in our group, what we did was we said, okay, let's start doing exclusive updates every Monday at noon. Whether we knew what was happening or not, we're just going to get out there
Yeah.
and do a talk for 30 minutes. And that's what we
Yeah,
did every
yeah,
single
yeah.
Monday. And we used to call it was an executive update. And it was like, it was a picture of me and my team kind of like sitting behind a desk, you know, so it looked like
Yeah.
a news update.
Yeah.
But it was just like, let's just get ahead of this. Let's just show people that look, we're willing to be in the front of this, and we'll figure this out.
Yeah.
We have no other choice.
That's true leadership,
Mhm.
right? Because if you see what if Trudeau, it doesn't matter the party or whatever,
Yeah.
but any leader that does not communicate with the people, right away the people start coming to their own conclusions,
Right.
right? And there's panic.
Mhm.
Panic creates disaster, and what happens is people don't know what to do, and they'll resort to the worst things possible, or you know that person screw them or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like not paying your rent.
Yeah.
Right? If you leave it up to them, they're gonna come to their own conclusion. This is the best thing that we could do right now because we don't have jobs, so we shouldn't pay our rent. You know,
Right.
and you know, leadership is not just being a leader when the times are good, but you also have to stand up and be a leader when times are bad. You know,
Absolutely.
and that is the definition of a true leader, is the person that stands up and says, listen, we're all scared.
Yeah.
I feel you. These are the steps that we're taking. And don't worry, we're gonna update you in a week or so to make
Right.
sure that we've taken these steps and this was the result.
Yeah.
And so we kept updating, and then you know, looking back and looking at like the differences between the way people manage the situation, I thought like, you know what, if it ever happens again, because it will, there'll be another crisis. That was the true test of who we are, you know.
Any regrets in the way that you handled it?
That's a really good question. Any regrets? Even though I took big steps, think I could have took bigger steps.
Yeah.
If I look at all the deals that I was underwriting in April, today they all look good.
Every single one.
Yeah, it's like, wait, why didn't I buy everything? Because like even some deals that we're selling today, we just bought last year, we're making it's like doubled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they always say, I mean, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you don't know until you can actually look back and. And
but I wouldn't call it a regret, because the regret is like, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know, I just like, if I can go back and talk to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to remember I saw something on Instagram. It was a quote by an actor, and I can't remember his name. Anthony, who was that guy who was in that one movie? I can't remember. Anyways, the quote was, the guy asked him a question. He goes, do you regret anything in life? And he pauses, and he goes, no, I don't have any time for regret.
Well, you know what? It's like every obstacle, every setback, every situation in your life where you're like, man, I was in a dark place.
Yeah.
Was also necessary.
Correct. And that's essentially what it says, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what he was saying, is that it made me the person who I am today.
Yeah.
The mistakes and the success.
Yeah.
So.
Because it wouldn't be, you mean, like, that's what makes a whole life, you know? Like, I say this to my daughters all the time because, like, there'll be someone on the street or whatever, I tell them, like, you know what? It takes all kinds to make a world, like, and, that person that may be in a rough time in their life and they're maybe a little quirky or whatever, that fits. That's what the world, like, it takes all kinds, right? You need all kinds to make a world, because if everybody was just exactly the same, that would be horrible.
Exactly. Somebody's listening to this and they say, okay, you know what? Should I invest now? Should I invest now? I'm brand new, or I'm experienced. Should I continue to keep going? Are we at the top? We got to be close to the top. Yeah. Interest rates are probably going to start pushing up higher. Yeah. Maybe I need to hold off. Like, what do you have to say to somebody like that?
I would say the first step for everyone is to get educated.
Oh.
Most people don't know how to identify a deal, right?
Bang on.
And that's the first thing. It doesn't matter if you're at the top of the market or at the bottom of the market. Not all real estate is good, right? You need to learn how to identify an opportunity. Once you know how to identify an opportunity, you can buy in any market, right? I'm buying more now than I ever did before. And I'm also selling. Now it's a great time to sell, and it's a great time to buy. Next year, wherever we are in the market, we're still going to be buying because we know how to identify opportunities. And opportunities don't only come when the market is down. Opportunities are everywhere, and sometimes you have to think outside the box.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good advice.
Yeah.
That's good advice. I think, and especially when you're new, you want to, or you tend to do what the masses are doing. And so now, even for us in our business, we're getting phone calls left, right. It's like everybody wants to get in. Nobody wants to miss the boat. And the thing that I'm always saying is, cool, but you gotta attend a fast start class. You gotta attend that beginner's training on how to identify a deal, how to run the numbers, what's the difference between a hard cost, a soft cost, the down payment, vacancy, maintenance. You gotta understand this stuff before you just jump in.
Yeah.
And it's important to do it with somebody who is where you want to be.
For sure. I mean, the biggest problem is people that think they know everything, and they're overconfident.
Yep.
And they're overpaying for property, and there is a time to overpay, right? But it has to make sense. There's a reason why you're overpaying. Magic Johnson cashed out of the Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
And him and a group of people bought the LA Dodgers for $2 billion. $2 billion. Now, people at that time said, you're overpaying. Because when they made that deal, that was the biggest purchase of a team ever in history at that time. 2 billion, 2 billion.
Yeah.
Right?
Big money.
Yeah. So Magic Johnson was part of that group that bought the Los Angeles Dodgers. Famous team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people have LA Dodgers. They don't even watch baseball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now it's worth $4 billion. But in that time, they were saying, you know what, you overpaid, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? There was other people willing to overpay too.
Yeah.
So in this case, it was like who's willing to overpay the most and still have a plan on how they're going to increase the value of that property, right? So they learned how to identify the opportunity, even though in that situation they were overpaying. But it doesn't matter because they did their math.
Right.
And they knew that if they just did this and this and this, look at where they are now. $4 billion is the valuation of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, my partner Chris, he always says it all the time. He goes, Gary, homes are too expensive in 2010, 2011. Homes are too expensive in 2013. Homes are too expensive in 2016.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of falls in that line as well too. Yes, you can find some deals throughout the year, obviously, but sometimes you do overpay a bit.
Yeah.
You know, but as long as you run your numbers properly and you know that it's going to cash flow, which we obviously know is something that's really important, you can stay ahead of the game.
Yeah.
You really can, right? And you just take that speculation piece out, and I guarantee that's what they did. They took the speculation piece out. They ran their numbers. They're like, okay, no, this is good. This is a good deal, and if we get that appreciation, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Listen, we're getting kind of close to the end here, but I love asking these two questions.
How long has it been?
I don't know. Well, I think we started.
I was telling you, you are the Joe Rogan of real estate.
You know what? I honestly, I could sit here and do this like 2-3 hours.
Man, I love it.
I enjoy this stuff, and
you're good at what you do. You're good at what you do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, so do I. And again, I'm glad that we got to do this in person. You know.
Yeah.
So, and you know what it was? It was because you saw that picture, I think, on my story. And you're like, you just got a studio?
Yeah. I saw. I'm like, are you doing in persons?
Yeah.
Because I have been on your podcast before.
Right.
I can't remember when
we did a Zoom call, and then something had messed up with the video.
Yeah. And then I saw that you were doing that, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? I'll come and hang out.
Yeah, this has been fun. This has been fun. What's one of the worst days you've had in your life?
Well, I can say the darkest day.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a really I would say intellectual family. Like my mom is like, she has master's degrees and things like that. Very proud people. My mom never asked to borrow money anywhere. When I was 15, I was in a dark place. I had dropped out of high school and I was living on the streets. One of my darkest moments was actually, panhandling for change. It took everything from like me to actually, put my hand out and ask a complete stranger for change. And that was, I think, my lowest point in my memory, in my life. When you said that, I thought about that moment,
Right.
Or bumming cigarettes off strangers and stuff on, by the bus stop, sleeping in banks and things like that. So those were kind of my dark moments.
Right. How did you get out of that? Was that your mom that helped you, and you guys came to Canada? Is that?
No. So we essentially the birth of my daughter, right?
Mm.
I mean,
so that was back home.
No, this was here. Actually, it was in Ottawa. When I was 15, I was homeless. Okay, that.
Oh, I see. I thought it was back home. That was here.
Yeah, that was here.
Wow.
Yeah, that was here.
Okay.
I was in a very, very dark place, and I had no confidence. If you look at me at 15, zero confidence. I thought the entire world was against me.
Yeah. Was drugs involved as well?
Drugs were involved. Survival, and at 15 years old, you don't know much about the world, really.
Yeah. But you think you do though?
Yeah, you think
at that time?
Yeah, I thought the entire world was against me,
Mm.
right? I was like, if everybody would just change, I'd be okay.
Wow.
And it's easy to blame the world when you're
In that.
down low, lower than low.
Mhm.
Sleeping in banks. Having bank employees kick me out of the little ATM area, in the front.
Yeah.
It was warm,
Right.
When I was 17, I became a father.
And that was my next question. What was the best day of your life?
Yeah, that was an eye opener, like, and it didn't really hit me until that moment.
Mhm.
But when the nurse put my daughter in my arms, like everything, it was a game changer. You know what I mean?
Were you there?
I wasn't there for the birth
Mhm.
because we didn't have cell phones back then.
Okay.
But we had pagers.
Yes, I remember those days. You had to go find a
phone.
You had to find a payphone.
Yeah.
And you put a quarter in, and then they wouldn't pick up, and you lose your quarter.
Exactly. And so I found out the next day.
Yeah.
And so I remember going to the hospital, and the issue was she was, and by the way, that's September 22nd, right? So that was like last week, 26 years ago, right?
Mhm.
So I remember the next day, because she was supposed to be born in October, so she came. She was premature, and I got the call, and they're like, "You're a dad," and I was
Wow.
like, "Whoa, I'm a dad."
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I didn't even have enough money to get on the bus to go and see the birth of my daughter, or to go and visit my daughter. I had to walk. I walked all the way to the hospital, and I remember going in the hospital, and I was like, I'm gonna go see my daughter, like no emotion towards it.
Mhm.
And then the nurse, so she's in this incubator.
Yeah.
And then the nurse, and so I'm looking at this, this little human, but still not really. There's not really like an emotion there. There is an emotion, but it's really hard to describe the feeling.
Mhm.
And then the nurse says, "Do you want to hold her?" I said, "What do you mean? Do you want to hold your daughter?" And I was like, "Oh, that is my daughter," And I said, "Well, I don't want to drop her."
Yeah.
I have I'm 17.
You're right.
Right? I'm 17. It's like a baby having another baby, right?
Mhm.
And she said, no, don't worry. So she opened up the incubator, and she grabbed my daughter, and then she put her in my arms, and it was just like everything changed. Everything changed at that moment. It was like no longer was I thinking about myself and how hard I had it. I now had to live for this other human being, right? Like, and that's when I discovered purpose. And I didn't have a dad, right? I didn't. My mom was a single mother, and a lot of the times when I was like 11 or 12, I was like, so what happened to my dad, right? How come he's not here? How come he wouldn't want to be here?
Mhm.
And so I didn't want to be that guy,
Right.
right? And so I decided that, you know what, I was going to live. My whole purpose at that time was to make this little girl proud of me. And that's what started everything. That's what started the business at 17. That's what started, I went back to school. That's what really created everything. That was that one moment that kind of shifted my whole life. And, I quit drugs. I just went through a full life transformation.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that part of your life with us. This has been a great conversation. I've learned a lot more about you. We'll have to do this definitely again.
Hey, we'll do it over and over. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It really was, and I think a lot of people will get a lot of good insights into who you are and how to live a good life.
Yeah.
But
that's what's ultimately. That's what it's about. How to live a good and fulfilled life.
Yes.
Fulfillment is above all what people should strive for, right? And if people strive more for fulfillment, you would see that, like, you would have it would be like Renaissance, Renaissance on Earth, right? Like everything would shift because people working towards fulfillment rather than like money or other things, you know, because fulfillment should be the goal.
Yeah, and the journey. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Enjoy the day.
Yeah.
You know, Alfonso, if somebody wants to learn more about you,
Hey, Google me.
that's it.
You're in my YouTube channel right here, so find me on YouTube. You know, Alfonso Quadra, look me up. Free subscription, by the way.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. You want to have a drink or what?
Yeah, well, let's do it.
All right,
let's
we're going offline. We're having a drink. All right, guys, YouTube, enjoyed it. Alfonso, man,
we'll see you at the top. We'll see you at the top.
All right, brother, take it easy.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Hey, for those guys that are, let me see if anybody's on here still. Let me see. Oh, you got one person on here.
Yeah. It's all good, man.
One person left because we went Joe Rogan on there. I'm gonna see how long that was. 90 minutes on my thing here.
Well, I think
But,
on mine.
I want you to share. I want you to share with my audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. What do you guys want to know, or what do you want to ask me?
Hey,
some questions?
you know what? I want to know how you started, and I'll bring it. I'm gonna bring it. Oh, you know what? Let's get some drinks first.
Sure. Let's do that. Let's do that. What do you want? You want scotch? You want rum?
I like. You get malt scotch. What do you have, scotch? Yeah, we have a little scotch.
You want scotch?
Yeah.
Blend?
This is really feels like Joe Rogan right now.
You want some ice? Let me get you some ice too.
No ice.
You don't?
No,
straight?
we
All
like
right.
it neat. We like it neat.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. All right.
But you know, for our friends here,
Yeah.
I think they can be inspired by your story.
that good?
I want to hear a little bit about your story,
Sure, brother.
and you know how you got to build all this. You know, podcasts.
Well, let me go right from the beginning. So the beginning was around 2000.
And salute to you,
Salute.
my friend.
Cheers, brother.
Yes.
So that's good. 2006, 2007, my brother brought over The Secret.
Okay, now we're going.
Yeah,
now
we're going back. We're going back.
The
And
first
so-
secret. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is it the first secret or the second secret?
The first one. It was
The
the
one.
first
The one with Esther. Esther Hicks.
No, maybe it was the second one. Then.
There's two secrets.
Well, the one with what's her name? Something Byron.
No. But the thing is,
author.
this.
But,
So
okay, there was a guy, the black guy with the dreads. I can't remember his name.
Beckwith.
Beckwith.
Yeah, Michael Beckwith.
Yeah. So he was in that one.
It's the same secret, except for there's some slight changes. And I just want to touch on.
I'm pretty sure it was the first one. It was
Okay.
the one when they first came on Oprah Winfrey.
That was the second secret.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was the second one.
Yeah.
So my brother brings it over. I watch it, and at the end, I'm like, "What?" It just felt like it was more wishful thinking.
Yes.
But I was like, okay, at least let me try it. Let me at least just start writing down things. Because see, the one thing that The Secret missed was the action piece. Yeah. They made it seem like it was just more like you can have what you want. And I think a lot of people didn't believe it because they didn't see or know the action piece of it, which is an important piece.
Well, human beings, look, they want instant gratification.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the second they start thinking about something and it doesn't show up, this stuff doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But in that movie, it talks about when you feel it, move towards it.
Correct.
That's the action piece.
Correct.
It's inspired action, you know, based on what you put out on the universe.
Right.
But
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. And so saw that and I'm like, okay, cool. Didn't do a whole lot with it. 2008 rolls around. If you remember, this is the finances now that happens. And you got to remember too, I used to work at TD Bank. So I'm a corporate guy and I've been doing this now for, 12, 13 years.
So you're just clocking in every day, 9 to 5.
Exactly. And I'm getting to this point where I'm not really liking the job anymore, but I don't really see it out. 2008 rolls around, I go into work and they called it Black Monday. And so because the U.S. was taking that financial hit,
yes,
they thought it was going to happen up here in Canada as well too. And coming to work, sit down in my cubicle, and I see one of my coworkers get called in. Comes out, and I can see the look in his face, and I was like, oh shit, he just got let go. So I start banging the keyboard, thinking that, if I look like I'm working really hard, they'll keep me. Because I can't lose this job.
Yeah.
We had just bought our dream home. I got 2 young kids, and I need this job. And so people are getting called in the office all day long. You imagine this is from like 8 to 4 p.m. and you don't know if it's your numbers up or what. End of the day, manager comes out and he goes, "Okay, everybody's safe." And I'm just like, holy shit. So I jump in the car, I'm driving home, and I go, never again do I ever want to feel like somebody is in control of my financial freedom or future.
Yeah.
Problem was I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know how to get out of that corporate world. It was good income, it was close to 6 figures at the time. And so I get into commodities trading, buying wheat, oil, soya beans. I get into futures. I get into forex trading, buying the yen, the Aussie, the U.S. dollar, and anything you can think of, and it just wasn't working.
Did you do any MLM?
I've done many MLMs.
Yeah, okay.
I've done ACN. I've done Amway. I've done everything. I've tried many different MLMs.
My daughter,
Uh-huh.
she said, "Dad, there's this opportunity. I want to. I'm kind of shy to tell you, but this is the opportunity." And I said, "Honey, do it.
Yeah.
You learn so much through those MLMs because there's a big component of personal development. You know what I mean?
You do learn a lot from it. It's difficult because the legs keep breaking, as you're growing it. Yeah. People don't believe in it, and so they fall out. But anyways, nothing's working. I'm racking up more debt. I go into TD Bank, sit down with my financial advisor, and I go, "Listen, I need to take all my debt, consolidate it, and put it into my mortgage. This is the 3rd time I'm doing this now, right? And there's always more month than money.
Yeah,
there's always more month than money." And I'm like, "Thank God I have this property to bail me out. 3rd time it's done this." And she goes, "Gary, you know what? You really have a difficult time with managing your credit cards and your lines of credit." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." She goes, "Well, maybe just cut them up." I'm like, "Yeah. Get rid of them all. I don't want nothing to do with them anymore. I'm done. I'm finished."
Kicking the habit.
Yeah. Like I'm just from
my last cigarette
forward,
today.
Yeah, going forward, everything's gonna be cash. I don't care. I'm done. And so she leaves the office. And this is the day that completely changed my whole entire life. And so she leaves. I'm in there by myself, and I look up, and on the wall there is this index chart. So the index chart shows you a timeline of 50 years of what interest rates have done for the last 50 years, what the stock market has done, the president, just everything that's happened in 50 years. And I look, and there's this one chart, and it's inflation. And for the first time, it kind of clicks on me, but it's at the bottom. And over 50 years, inflation does anywhere from 2% to 18, 19%. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I average that out, that means inflation is doing 5% every single year. Okay, cool. So I'm like, well, what was my raise at work? And my raise at work the year before was like $1,000. Not bad, but when I did the math, that worked out to 1.6%.
You're not even keeping up with inflation.
And I was like, holy shit, I get it. I can't outpace inflation. It was mathematically impossible to outpace inflation by having a job. So then I was like, well, what if I buy one more property? What would that do for me? And then that started the journey into real estate, because I was like, well, that one seems to be always outpacing inflation. Why? And I started looking into that. And that's when it all started. Bought a couple properties, 2010. Me and my wife, we started Smart Home Choice. We knew nothing about real estate investing. But we were like, let's just be transparent. Let's just show people our journey as we fail and we have success along the way. And that's what we did. And so every single week, I wrote a newsletter. Hey, I went out, I put an offer on the property, I lost, Oh, look, I finally picked up a property. Okay, now we're gonna try to fill it. Well, we put a shitty tenant in the property. Everything, every single week. Up until today, we still do weekly newsletters.
Yeah.
And it's just to show people that anything's impossible. And I think it was also for me as well too, to prove to myself that I could try to do something and change my life and just document it.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
And so the whiteboard, the secret was the start of it, because everything I wanted, me and my wife, even to today, we write everything down on the whiteboard. And I learned this incredible thing from Jim Rohn early on, was he's like, just make a list of 100 things that you want in life. Doesn't matter how big
Jim Rohn,
or how small.
Jim Rohn is so influential in my life.
Huge.
And
Huge.
but there's like the problem with Jim Rohn is it doesn't translate to the younger audience.
Yeah.
So it's almost lost because
Mm-hmm.
when I try to share some of the things with my kids,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
You know, it just like it's like there hasn't been another Jim Rohn since.
There hasn't.
You know?
Not to that level. You're right though. But what I did though when I was driving and learning and listening to Jim Rohn, and my kids were young, I made them listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to listen to it. Shut up. So they had no choice.
Yeah,
right? Because they're in the back. I got it, and they're listening to it.
Yeah.
And here's what happened. Subconsciously, it was going into their heads.
Yeah.
And so now when we're talking and they hear me say something, if they're struggling with something, I'll be like, yeah, but you know what? And I'll do like a quote, and they will finish it. They will finish that Jim Rohn quote because they heard it.
Same thing.
It's like, yes, I know, Dad, I know.
My oldest, because she's now taken on a leader. She's a leader.
Yeah.
Right. She's doing real estate. She's she has her own students.
Yep.
She's coaching. Right.
Okay.
She's 26. She's coaching younger people on real estate.
Yeah.
And so we have these masterminds. You know.
Okay.
And I'll come on do the training with her.
Yep.
And she'll when I often hear her quote me.
That's amazing.
I love that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey.
Beauty.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, it's so interesting to see the next generation. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two different generations. So my daughter's a millennial.
Yeah.
And my youngest is a Gen Z.
Mm,
you know.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting to see the mindset, like of how, like problem solving, critical thinking.
Yeah.
And those two generations, it's so fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you find that your younger daughter is really good at multitasking?
I find that she's like, because my oldest is 26.
Mm-hmm.
She was part of the transition into like lock up your kids. So and I love them both to death, but I like the oldest one I think is a little bit more street smart.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And it like more worldly.
Yeah.
Than the younger one, where it's like her world is just we've kind of put a like bubble wrap, in a way.
Right.
Because I remember when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
I would walk to school, take a bus on my own. Back home it was like kids would just go outside on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And my youngest, I remember one time I was at the gas station. She was like 11, and I said, "I'm just gonna go get something inside." She's like, "You're gonna leave me alone?"
Yeah.
So the worldly skills, okay, I think for Gen Z, they're gonna have and maybe because again, that's my ego thinking that you need these skills.
Mm-hmm.
That you got to learn how to connect with people and be a social. So I think the Gen Z, it's going to be interesting how when they're 30, how the Gen Z is going to be versus any other generation, right? So like where people are more used to not dealing with technology. I think the Gen Z, like my daughter, can figure out how to put together anything in the house.
Right.
She knows how everything works,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where I don't. I gotta call people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's really, really interesting. It's really interesting.
It is. And you know what? And I think we can learn a lot from our kids as well too.
Yeah.
Like I know when my son got to around 18, 19, I started thinking, well, how did my mom or how did my dad handle this situation? And you can't use those same type of teaching techniques.
Yeah.
I took some of it, but I also had to change it up a bit. And where I had to be more, okay, well, why do you feel that way? Or why are you thinking like that? Like, I know, like, he started getting into politics as well, too, a bit. And he's like, yeah, NDP is fantastic. Explain to me why do you think it's good? Well, because free education or you free this and really, okay, so how do you think they're going to get it for free? You know? And so you start to challenge them on some of their beliefs because I was trying to teach them stand for something. And I'm cool if you want to be NDP or I'm cool if you want to be liberal, but explain to me why. And so that when now people can start to chisel away at your beliefs, you can stand, or you can also be open to changing and being open to different dialogues.
Yeah.
Right? Because things do change.
That's a really good point. Growing up, it was just assumed you would have to be liberal. Like that's the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like people's party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the people. It's like you got to be liberal. Everybody, liberal's open to all things.
Right. What a great way to sell it, the People's Party.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's for the people. Yeah, you have to vote for them.
Yeah, it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Until you pay taxes. You're like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
And I realized like this party thing just divides people. And I'm just pro efficiency, right? I don't want to identify with a particular party. I'm pro whoever can do the best job and whoever has the policies that, in my view, are best for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And that affect my business. So I really evolved to just being someone that was just following without any context.
Yeah.
Yeah, liberal. Yeah. But why? Well, liberal. Everybody, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's can have, right?
Yeah.
That was that. It's like, oh, the poor people and people that don't have can have.
Right.
Until you start realizing, okay, it's not even about parties. It's like policies.
Right.
You have to be more
and understanding the policies, and then you know what? Then vote. Go out and vote.
Yeah.
But then don't get caught up in if your party loses.
Yeah.
Because you can still be successful if the Conservatives are in.
Yeah.
Or you can still be successful if the Liberals are in.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you could probably still be successful if the NDPs are in. Will it be difficult with different parties? Potentially, for sure. But still, just work through it.
Yeah. Well, you know
what?
what?
Don't like it, and I hate when people blame. If you think that the government is here to save you, then you know what? Then you're in trouble. Now, can the government build roads and bring gas and electricity to my home? For sure, they've got a great function. You know what I'm saying? Some people say, yeah, well, pay too much taxes. But you know what? I'd rather have a fat goose than no goose at all.
Listen, I love paying taxes.
Yeah.
I'll pay all the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay taxes. I'll pay my fair share.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And so, I agree with that.
And so for me, it becomes about policy. And but I think people should participate more. Younger people should participate more in the process. You know what I mean? Because if you don't participate, then you can't
complain.
You can't complain. You know.
Exactly.
And what you said earlier, it brings up a good point. Back in the U.S. election, people were like, so, and I was on podcasts. Every podcast, they were like, so, what's your thoughts? You know, and I said, my thoughts are really, I don't have any, because it doesn't matter who's there, I'm still going to win. My thoughts on who's going to be the prime minister, it doesn't matter. I'm going to win. I can vote for who I feel has the best policies, but ultimately, either one of them is fine. I'm going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that whatever the circumstance, I'm going to win. And that's my mindset. So it's not like, oh, these guys are in power, so we're screwed for the next 4 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? So let's just not do anything.
Exactly. Hey, you know what? I wanted to get to this question. I don't know if I asked you or not. You have financial freedom. You have time freedom. What about geographical freedom? You ever thought about that?
Well,
are you happy here? Have you thought about moving?
My geographical freedom was amazing before COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that's one thing that I love to do.
Me too.
I love traveling. Before COVID, we were in Greece, Morocco, I've traveled to over 40 countries. I love experiencing different cultures.
Yeah.
I go right in. Like, I go right into, like, the craziness, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people, a lot of the time, so people are like, oh, so I've been in Kingston, Jamaica, you know?
Okay. Yeah. That's where my mom's born.
Yeah, and then people are like,
Mean streets.
no one's ever been there. From Canada, anyways, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was like, you know, I like to go and feel and touch and be where people are at.
Mhm.
I've been to all over Asia. Some of the craziest things that I've experienced are like, my life has been in jeopardy, you know, because I've gone into situations. But I love it.
Yeah.
I love to travel and experience the world. So that's one thing about COVID that we're able to appreciate Canada more.
Mhm.
So this summer, we traveled across the country for a month and a half. From Ottawa, we went all the way to Vancouver Island and
Nice.
back. You know,
Drove.
month and a half.
You drove.
Yeah, month and a half. And
What do? You rented a?
no, just took my own car.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
hotels and whatever. Like, you know, you just
Yeah.
hang out. Like, hey, let's hang out in this place. And I didn't miss a beat. I did podcasts. I was able to connect with my students.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything on Zoom. You know what I mean? Our properties were good. Everything was good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You've had a fun and enjoyable life. You
I
really
love people. I love life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And so have you. I've seen you on the boat.
I
Do you like the toys?
I love the toys. I love having fun.
So what kind of boat you have?
It's a bar rider.
Okay.
Yeah. So
But
we're probably gonna get. Yeah, we're probably.
Can you go in it? Like, is it or
No, you can't go in that one. So we're thinking
It's more
maybe
like a speedboat.
Yeah, kind of thing, right? Like a James
Hey,
Bond kind of boat.
man, where's the invitation?
You'll come up next summer.
I need my invite.
You'll come up next summer. It's fun. You know why? Because all that is brand new to me. I don't know anything about owning no cottage or boats. You know what I mean? So it was great learning, and my neighbors sitting back and watching me fail. But I enjoy that because it's a new experience. And so now I've learned so much over the last 3 years.
You know, I'm like you. If there was ever a situation where I had like, I'm not a technical person.
Mhm.
Like, mechanical things frustrate me.
Yeah.
I don't like the upkeep of things. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't like getting oil changes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's almost like I like, because my I think it's up here all the time. Some of the minor details like suffer, right? So if I had a boat, I wouldn't maintain that thing. It's like people talk to me about a cottage.
Yeah.
You know, the cottage,
Yeah. It's different.
I might go there once a year, and then I forget to turn off a water or whatever.
Yeah.
Then the thing burns down or whatever. You know what I mean?
And you have to be, you don't have to be, but I enjoy that part of it. Like, I enjoy cutting the grass and riding the lawnmower.
Yeah.
Because it allows me to.
But that's your part of your fulfillment.
Right, I enjoy that. I like being in the back of the boat and tinkling with a little thing here. You know, if it gets a little too complex, fine, I'll call somebody in. But I like just trying to figure that stuff out because it's different, you know? And so the first boat that I had was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing that anybody ever told me to do because I was in the back of the boat every weekend because something was always breaking down.
Yeah.
And so then I understood and learned the mechanics of how it all worked. That thing broke down in the middle of the lake on me. We had to oar back. Oh, yeah. All kinds of crazy stuff. But you learn from that stuff, right?
I remember, so when I bought my first property when I was 21.
Yeah.
No one in my family has ever owned a property except for my grandparents.
Yeah.
But they had to sell it because, you know, they had to pay some bills. So that was it. You know, like, I'm kind of like the first came to Canada, 21. That was like the thing. We bought this property, and we didn't just buy a property.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was on the Quebec side. I'm from Ottawa. On the Quebec side, the Gatineau.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
was
you're
in
good.
it.
French accent is good.
Yeah. Merci bien. Gatineau. And so we had it in Gatineau.
Yeah.
On the Gatineau side, in this new neighborhood,
Yeah.
new development.
Yeah.
White folks. You know what I mean? Finally moved into a neighborhood with white folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, someone that's watching this would be like, that's like, who cares? But that was like, to me, it was like, whoa, these guys like I had felt like I made it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got this brand new house. No time. I'm still working. Every day I'm hustling.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And then and so I'm working. And when I come home, every once in a while, I notice that my neighbor has cut my front lawn for me, and I'm like, wow, this is like in my neighborhood, no one would do that. You know what I mean?
Moving on up.
Yeah. This is an example of what is like to live in a nice neighborhood. And so every once in a while, and I never get to catch the neighbor. And I've said, whenever I can catch him, I'm going to thank him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is like a few months that go by. And he's always like, I see he cuts his lawn, he cuts mine.
Yeah.
What a nice guy. You know what I mean? And then I see him one time. And I'm like, listen, man, I just gotta tell you, man, thank you. Like, that's awesome. Like, you know, like I've never experienced that. Like someone being so neighborly that they're gonna cut my piece of grass.
Yeah.
He's like, Estita Barnack, you're making the whole neighborhood look like shit. He's like, I have to cut your lawn. This is stupid. I'm like, oh shoot, sorry. So he was cutting my lawn because he didn't want his property values to go down. And he was so upset with me. He thought I was like a degenerate, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, oh shoot. So I know that if I had a boat, people would be upset at me for something. You know what I mean? I know that someone said, "Oh, are you gonna park your boat?" No, we're docking our boat.
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
and you know
so
what?
I'm not up to date with all the etiquettes. I'm just trying to get the golfing etiquettes down, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we still got to do that as well too. We definitely need to go out and golf, right? There is definitely different etiquettes in golf and you know, driving your boat
but they're important. They're important
for sure, because when I drive that boat now in the first year, it was a hot mess, and I remember me and my wife. I said, "Listen, let's go for lunch at a restaurant on the water." So I'm coming in now. And when you're driving a boat, you do. You got an operator card. I don't know what it is now, maybe $100 now, but when I got it, it was like $20. Once you get it, you're done. You're finished.
Yeah.
And so now pulling in, and you got to remember too, when you're in a boat, it's not like four wheels on the road where it's precise. It's moving, you got waves. And so I'm coming in and I'm spinning the back of the boat around, and I can see this guy at the restaurant up the top because it was an outdoor patio. And he sees me, and he knows I'm not confident, I'm nervous. And he takes that last bite of that sandwich, he gets up because I'm about to hit his boat. And he starts walking down. And sure enough, the backhand, boom, just hit his boat. I'm like, oh my God. So he comes down, he's like, you know, and then so when the boat's coming into the side, I forgot to put my bumpers out. So I put my hand there to stop it, and then my hand gets pinched in between the dock and the boat. So all my fingers are purple.
Oh, man.
So finally I get out. The guy's like, listen, man, you got to be careful. You got to put your bumpers out. You got to take your time when you're coming in. So he's giving me shit, but he's also giving me some good advice. I'm like, okay, thanks. I appreciate that. So we sit down now. So everybody there has seen everything. They've seen everything, you know? So my wife's embarrassed now. Dara's just like, oh, my God. We sit down. Lady comes over, drops the menu in front of us. She goes, okay, do you guys have reservations? They're like, no. She goes, oh, you have to make reservations. Oh, Christ. So we got to get up now. We got to leave.
Oh, man, that's a walk of shame.
Oh, such a walk of shame. The whole thing, it was a mess. But you know what? Now I've learned.
I love that story. You know, it's an immigrant story. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's the same way when I started playing golf. Man, I broke all kinds of etiquettes. You know, I'm walking over people's lines. I'm like, the first time I went play golfing, when I went to play golf, I wore jeans. Everybody's like, you don't wear jeans on the golf course. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and you feel like, oh, such an outsider, you know what I mean? And then like, slowly you start to develop, you start to learn the etiquette. So, you know, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
you know?
it is. Good, man.
You play golf?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a golfer, but I mean, I've been out like a few times a year.
I'm just
So
saying,
I know how to swing. I can swing it. I'm not
yeah.
great. I mean, it'll go into the trees and here, but every so often I'll hit a good drive.
Yeah.
Where I'm like,
it's a hard sport,
I think they call it stroke because sometimes I just feel like I'm gonna have a stroke. Because sometimes I hit it really good. I'm like, all right.
But how do you feel when you play golf?
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it just kind of.
It's the only sport that's associated with business.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, golf was so foreign to me. It was like that's what rich people do.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it was such a sport that you just put like all the way like so far away,
Yeah.
that it's not even attainable. It's not even a thing that you could even do. So when I play golf, I feel that. Like I feel that, like when I was a kid, I used to think that this is like not even, there's no way in hell in my life I would ever be golfing.
Right.
And I'm not good.
Yeah, I'm not
You know
good
what
at
I
it
mean?
either, but I do
love
enjoy
it.
it. Yeah, and you know, and I enjoy the company. I enjoy the conversations, and
well, it's the only sport you can actually do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I remember when I used to work at Canadian Tire, and I used to work in the sporting department, and you'd see the people that came to get the golf clubs and the gloves, and you see the prices of it. You're like, man, that's expensive. And like, whew, I'll never afford this.
Yeah, I remember the first time I asked my mom to play hockey. Like I wanted to play hockey.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, how much does it cost?"
Yeah, right away.
She's like,
That's the first question.
No. You got a basketball in the back. Go play basketball. And I said, okay. But it's so foreign to us, and it's it's like the immigrant experience. It's so unique because someone that is born here that is like probably seeing golf is probably no problem. You know what I mean? It's not foreign. You know what I mean? But I like learning that etiquette. So maybe I will try the boating thing, But it took me so long to learn the etiquettes of golf.
Yeah.
And now I have to learn a new etiquette. But maybe what I would do? I would get a hat. I would get like the captain hat.
Yeah. But you know what? It took a couple years. Like now, like this summer, I was very confident in going into parking the boat at the restaurant or pulling up into the sandbar. Very confident. Like, okay, I know where I got to control. And my wife is like, oh my God, like, relax. I got this.
You know what?
It's practice.
Practice.
It's no different than real estate. It's just hours upon hours upon hours where you do it so many times.
Well, I didn't even know how to carry my clubs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would carry them like I'm carrying a hockey bag. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to remember.
And then I started to watch other people. I'm like, oh, okay, no, people do it this way, and this how or like this,
Well, I remember the first time I went, it was a TD golf tournament, and so I show up there now, and somebody had sold me some clubs, but without the bags. So I didn't know. So I get there now from the trunk, and I got like all the clubs sitting in the back of the trunk, and my friends are like, "What you doing with that?" I'm like, "I want to play golf." I was like, "You need a bag. You can't just walk around the club."
I love that.
I'm like, oh my God. So anyways, I think if we went inside, I think I rented some clubs in a bag or whatever, and then I used that for the day. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know.
Do you have a cottage?
Yeah. No, I own that cottage up there.
Nice.
So me and my wife, we bought that back in 2017. So before this whole craze of everybody going out and buying cottages.
I have for me, it's such an interesting thing, the cottage thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you like even the camping thing.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me. Like back home, people that sleep outside are homeless. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You don't sleep outside for purpose.
And here people do it purposely.
Yeah. Or you go and sleep in a smaller house.
Yeah.
That's in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I definitely so I go to Sandbanks a lot.
Yeah. Sandbanks is nice.
Yeah. And we rent a lake house. We use it, do what we got to do, and then there's boats, and there's a driver. You rent it for the day, and there's a driver that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And so that's my experience.
You know what it is for me, anyways, and I also notice too with friends when they come out, this is a disconnect. You disconnect from that.
There's not even a good Wi-Fi
There
connection
is,
over
even
there.
at my cottage as well too. I set up like a whole podcast station up there. Internet shit, so I can't do it properly.
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah,
like, you know
yeah.
what? That's actually a good thing.
And that's what it is. It's the disconnection.
There's a disconnection. Then at night as well too, you get to see all the stars, and there's something about sitting around a fire.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, and I think it's primal. I think it's looking at something that man, like I think that took man out of the Stone Ages.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah.
And when you see it though, sometimes you can just sit around and look at it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, not even say a word.
Yeah.
And just look at the dancing of it.
I'm mesmerized by fire.
Yeah.
There's something when I go to the cottage and I sit there, I'm like, whoa, there's reflection, right? And there's like, oh, and I always think about my story and everything that got me to that point. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a gratitude when it comes to fire.
I think it allows you to just strip away whatever you have and what you don't have.
Yeah.
And just and almost it's a connection, I think, to nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that connection.
Yeah.
Hey man, thank you for having me.
No
over.
problem, man.
You're
It was
awesome.
good. Yeah. So are you.
Look at this. We got frozen and we didn't even realize it. Okay. There's lots of people commenting. I don't know what they're saying, but we were frozen there for I don't know how long. But
all right, cool.
If they made it this far in the recording,
this is like 2 hours.
I'm trying to. Yeah, it's like it's 2 hours in. So if you made it this far, what are you gonna tell them?
What are you gonna tell them? Listen, here's what I'm gonna tell you. Well, thanks for tuning in. Number one. Number two, whatever it is that you want to do in life, you can do it. You know, I think that it's about the journey. Don't get caught up in the destination. Don't get caught up in thinking, well, if I get here, I'll be happy. Just be happy now. Be happy now and make changes in your life that you want to do. It's your life to discover and your life to have fun with, period.
Hey, with that, we're going to sign off. Alfonso loves you, and we'll see you at the top.
All right.
Woo!